Lesson 1. Defining cultural, social, and political change. Types of changes. Social change, cultural change, and political change. Social change, the alteration in patterns of culture, social structure, and social behavior over time. Social change refers to the evolution of societal structures, values, and behaviors over time, driven by factors like technology, culture, and politics, aiming to create a fairer and more inclusive society. Cultural change, changes in tangible or material aspects of culture and intangible or non-material aspects of people's lives are also part of culture change. Cultural change refers to the transformation of beliefs, practices, and values within a society over time, influenced by factors such as globalization and social movements, leading to the emergence of new cultural expression and identities. Political change. It is the change in the political patterns of behavior and values of individuals as well as political institution that holds power and control society. Political change involves the transformation of systems, institutions, and policies that govern a society, often driven by election revolutions or social movements with the goals of addressing governance issues and promoting social justice.
There are two sources of change, innovation and diffusion. Innovation is an independent invention to creatively find solutions to problems. Innovation is the creation and implementation of new ideas, products, or processes that bring about meaningful change and value. The second source of change is diffusion, the act of spreading culture, traditions, objects, and ideas to other societies. Diffusion is the spread of ideas, innovation, or practices from one person or group to another, shaping societal change and progress. There are two types of innovation, the primary innovation and secondary innovation. Primary innovation occurs when an individual or a group comes up with a completely new idea, method, or device. Primary innovation is the creation of entirely new ideas, products, or processes that have not existed before, often leading to significant advancement and transformative change. Secondary innovation occurs when an individual or a group further develops or improves on an already existing idea, methods, or device. Secondary innovation involves improving or modifying existing ideas, products, or processes through incremental changes, contributing to ongoing development and refinement. There are four types of diffusions. Direct diffusion. It occurs through marriage, trade, and war. An example of direct diffusion is the rapid spread of the fashion trend from a fashion capital to the cities without significant modification. Indirect diffusion occurs when a group encounters another group indirectly through a third party. An example of indirect diffusion is the spread of Buddhism from India to China through the Silk Road, resulting in cultural adaptation and emergence of unique Chinese Buddhist tradition. Acculturation, the product of massive cultural change that entails a show of face by one party over the other. An example of acculturation is when immigrants adopt aspects of the host culture while retaining elements of their cultural heritage. Assimilation occurs when a minority group loses its distinctive cultural traits and adopt or absorb those of the dominant culture. An example of assimilation is when immigrants adopt the dominant culture's language, customs, and values, gradually losing their distinct cultural identity.
Listen to distinguish kinds of social contradiction and tensions. Kinds of social contradictions and tensions: inter-ethnic conflicts, class struggle, armed conflicts, terrorism. Inter-ethnic conflicts. Minorities are subjected to different forms of unequal treatment by the dominant group. The dominant group may deny the minority equal access to wealth, power, and prestige that its own members enjoy. An example of inter-ethnic conflict is the Hutu-Tutsi conflict in Rwanda, which led to the devastating Rwandan genocide in 1994. Class struggle. It is an open form of stratification based primarily on economic statuses which may be subject to change. The individual status often depends on the occupation and the income of a person. According to Marx, class conflict is the key to historical and social change. An example of class struggle is the labor movements of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, where workers fought for better conditions and rights in the face of exploitation by industrial capitalists. Armed conflicts. It is caused by frictions and tensions among conflicting individuals and groups in society, frequently resulting in hostilities. It is attributed to the failure of two opposing parties to settle disputes amicably, thus causing tensions to further escalate. It also happens in many parts of the ethnic issues and societal stresses such as injustice and poverty. An example of armed conflict is the Syrian civil war, characterized by political unrest, violence, and the involvement of multiple factions, leading to immense human suffering and displacement. Terrorism. It refers to the tensions or movements that resort to the violence against civilian targets for the purpose of intimidation to achieve political or ideological ends. It is violent and potent means of social change and gaining worldwide attention. An example of terrorism is the 9/11 attacks in the United States, where hijacked planes were used to cause mass destructions and loss of life.
Lesson 3: New challenges to human adaptation and social change. Major challenges or factors of change in the modern world: global warming, climate change, and migration. Global warming, it occurs when there is a sudden beating up of the Earth's surface brought by the excess hydrocarbons or pollutants emitted from industries. The intense heat causes the ice in the North and South Pole to melt, resulting in the sudden rise of low-lying regions. Glaciers are melting at the increasing rate, resulting in higher sea levels and altered ocean currents. Global warming is exemplified by the rise in average global temperatures, melting ice caps, and increased occurrence of extreme weather events attributed to human activities like burning fossil fuels. Climate change. It is the result of meteorological and climatic imbalance primarily caused by global warming during the atmospheric phenomena, often manifested through erratic weather conditions like heavy rains during dry season and heat waves during wet season. Like global warming, it resulted in disastrous typhoons as well as droughts. An example of climate change is the widespread retreat of glaciers driven by rising temperatures, leading to various environmental impacts. Migration. It refers to the movement of an individual or group from one place to another for security and satisfaction needs. Social life takes across borders even as the political and cultural salience of nation-state boundaries remains strong. Transnational migration is a representation of social mobility. An example of migration is the movement of Syrians seeking refuge from the civil war or finding new homes in neighboring countries and Europe. Major transformations according to anthropologist Helen Henderson. 1. Subsistence farming. It gives way to cultivation of agricultural products for the market. Consequently, new jobs are created in trade, manufacturing, and administration. 2. New sources of energy. It is exploited and individual wage earners operate machines within the industrial system. 3. Specialized educational institutions. These are created to bring literacy to the masses of partner skills and knowledge. 4. Change of family structure and function. The family is no longer a unit of production, but instead specialized in the specialization of offspring and the organization of consumption. 5. Modernization. It introduces new forms of alienation into the lives of industrial workers who lose control over the product of their labor and whose work tends to be repetitive and dull.